Hello, it's time for another update. We just returned from our adventure in Vietnam with 4 adults and 7 small children. Vietnam is the country of mopeds, lanterns, and very big smiles and friendly people. We had a ton of good food, and right upon arriving there, we could not pay for the food, so our host took us with the moped to an ATM so that we could pay in cash. A lot of times you can only pay in cash over there. The mopeds are everywhere. Somehow the Vietnamese dress up in full-on clothes so that you can barely see their eyes. Even though we had extremely high temperatures and heat warnings, everybody would still dress up very, very full. And I think it's to keep the pollution away and the sunshine. It's a typical Asian thing, I think. At least in Korea they do the same thing. The mopeds are used for everything. They haul stuff and a ton of people all the time. Like 3-4 people is not unnormal to see. This one is. The green guys on their mopeds are Grab, which is basically taxi drivers. To get around easier, we also got mopeds and had so much fun with it. And even I'm usually more on the careful side. I had so much fun with the mopeds and I could go back for it. The traffic was crazy, but at least in our small town where we were, it was slow enough to be so much fun still, just wild and crazy and slow. So it was still so much fun. And I mean, sometimes the moped drivers, they would go the opposite way in the darkness without a light on, but I feel like everybody knows the craziness, so they are more adept to looking out for moped drivers, and so they can deal with the craziness better than I feel like in Germany that would not work at all. Sometimes it was extremely full depending on where we were and where we went. One time we ended up in a festival or something like that where people could just nobody could move. Then we had to ask a shop owner to move one of the mopeds that stopped the traffic, and so she did, and then somebody else just left their car and did whatever, so nobody else could pass through anymore, so somebody else jumped into his car and just drove it away, which is crazy. I want to add that there's basically 0 rules in the street unless you're in the big city where people abide by red and green. And maybe sometimes here in bigger intersections where people abide by red and green, there are not a lot of rules or no rules at all. Everybody just swerves and gets their way, and most people stay in their lanes, but not really. So yeah, another type of craziness. The kids loved the mopeds. We strapped Timmy in, and we had another baby with. They were both fun, had mostly a lot of fun. We had an Airbnb in An Bang, which was just a few kilometers outside of Hoi An, which was very quiet-ish. It's just a touristy little town with all the stores, and the sidewalks there were some sidewalks, but sometimes you had to walk on the street, which was possible because it wasn't that busy. And all the restaurants basically right outside our Airbnb. All the spas you can imagine, and we got a massage done, which was so cool, and they happily remove your earwax. I don't know how that works, but they do it. We found a lot of tailor shops and just really cute places to visit. They had amazing food. Everything there is just so tasty and amazing, as long as you don't quite look at how they make it. Sometimes the hygiene isn't quite there, or at least not Western standards, and their kitchens are crazy. I don't know how they fabricate such good food in such small kitchens. Their coffees were amazing. Especially we loved their salt coffees, which is typical for Vietnam, and then the coconut coffees were really good, and their egg coffees, I did not like it, but the others, they really loved them. And we did not try their weasel coffee, which is supposed to be pooped out by weasels. I had a coconut every day, which is so amazing. I loved it. And then these are the Vietnamese desserts. We tried them. We're not really fans of it, but we tried them. They were really interesting. Then you see all the fruits. This is the durian fruit, and apparently more people die on that fruit falling on their heads than in shark attacks. At least something like that I read online. And you see all these weird little plots, like right in between all the houses. They're just plots that are just empty. These are small little shrines they have in almost every store and shop. You find these shrines, and then they pray when they put their incense down onto the shrines and their offerings. We went into Hoi An a few times. This is a city known for their boat rides and their lanterns, and you can take a boat ride and just put down little candle lanterns into the river. It's very, very popular, very beautiful, but also very full. So we are so happy that we did not stay in Hoi An, and we all agreed that depending on where you stay, this is going to influence how you like Vietnam. We were not in Hoi An. We were in this a few kilometers away from the city, which was perfect. We could walk around and the kids were free to walk. When we went to Hoi An, which was very beautiful, but then all the kids had to hold on with their hands and just we had to keep track of them as I was way too busy. Anyways, the boat cruise was very beautiful. We did that twice, and the kids all got to lower down their candle lanterns into the water, which is a bit of a letdown because usually when you're on the boat, the lanterns just flop right into the current. We did one time where they got to lower their lanterns from this side of the riverbank in, and then those lanterns they could actually watch. So Hoi An is very beautiful. Even at night, you see just all the beautiful lights and the colors everywhere. And of course, all the flags, the communist flags. Vietnam is still a communist country. And then the shops everywhere. You can go shopping really well if you want, if that's what you like to do. Everything is also very, very cheap. So if you want to go shopping, if you want like linen clothes and that type of stuff, this is the perfect place to go and buy some of that type of stuff. This one kind of reminds me a little bit of what I imagine Cuba would look like. And here we had some rolled ice cream. It was kind of cool to watch how they made it. I want to say he put a lot of work into making one serving of ice cream. And these things were interesting. They were rice puffs or something that just smoked. Then there was this old lady that came late at night to us and tried to sell us bananas. So we got some for Timmy and didn't really know how much to pay her. So Justin gave her 200,000 dongs, which is about $7.50. And you should have seen her face. She stepped backwards, almost fainted, and almost started crying. Like, you should have seen her expression. It was crazy. And she could not believe how much money Justin gave her for bananas. And for us, it's really not that much money, but for her, it was the world. It's crazy because everything over there is so cheap that there was a lot of money to her. So think of that when you go to Vietnam and you can do a little bit of good. And here we see those coconut boats. It took everybody for a spin. They were so fun, so fun. And I don't really like small boats, but these boats were really stable and I did not feel shaky at all. You could spin like those guys do if you want to, and Miriam took 5 kids for a spin and they had a ton of fun. Then we also spent a day in Da Nang, or in the Da Nang area. We all agreed that this was our least favorite day because, for one, we did not really like the big city vibes. Some people like it, others don't. We preferred the place where we had our Airbnb. Even though we saw little monkeys from close up and Bella's been wanting to see them, we thought that the busyness of the city was just not what we would have preferred. And like I said earlier, wherever you stay in Vietnam is going to shape your experience. So this is something very crucial to look out for when you plan your trip to Vietnam. Even though Da Nang had some very beautiful places and the coast looked very pretty when we drove by. But you can immediately see all the high rises again and just the city vibe. We also went to the Dragon Bridge, which was very cool and left a good impression on the kids. The dragon spit fire and water at 9 p.m. and it does that every night. Then we went to a big cave that day also, which we could have just not done, but we didn't know ahead of time. We didn't really do our research, but it was kind of eerie and just scary picture for the kids to look at. So at some point we just left. I did not really want them to see all of that. Here in the background you can see little hands sticking out of the water. It was just scary stuff. The kids found their joys wherever they went. So they found a toad in a pond on top of a hill, which all of that were temples and Buddhist things like the incense holders and all of that, which you find everywhere. And as a sign of respect to the culture, I think it's still very interesting to look at. But for me as a Christian, I don't really enjoy the Buddhist stuff as much. This guy walked by our house every day with loudspeakers and fuming stoves on the back of his bike. Actually, that was kind of interesting. Then here you can see the art of Bai Choi. It's recognized by the UNESCO as an intangible cultural heritage of humanity. It's basically where the performers sing poetic and humorous verses, and then the audience, they have to listen to the clues and see if they have the correct response in their hands. So it's kind of like a bingo, kind of interesting to watch, but we didn't understand anything. So we just listened to the song and the music. It was kind of interesting. But there wasn't much action going on, so you didn't really see a lot going on. We really needed the pool because we had heat warnings the whole week long. It was like in 37 degrees, feeling like 42 or something like that. So the kids played in the pool and napped during peak time so we can stay up longer. Here we found all the farmers and the workers out in the field. And then where we were, our town was just very, very beautiful, and you can just take a cruise with the mopeds and just enjoy the beauty everywhere around.